Hi there, Cameron Hayes from the London Guitar Institute here. I'm just going to be talking a little bit about getting started with blues guitar today. If you're new to guitar, you've probably heard of blues. It's definitely a big fundamental part of not only playing guitar, but music in general. So if you're brand new to blues guitar, the logical first place to start would be with the rhythm, the chords that we're playing. Blues, a lot of the time, probably most of the time, it's going to follow what's called a 12-bar blues progression. And that's, as the name suggests, a 12-bar pattern that keeps continuing around. Not as much like modern pop music or even rock music, where you have verses and choruses and maybe a bridge. Blues follows a bit more a repetitive 12-bar sequence that if you're a singer, you may sing over for a round or two, and then different instruments will then solo over. So it's a little bit different in terms of the structure. There's many ways you can do that structure. To play those chords. You could do bar chords, dominant 7 chords are very common in the blues. But if you're new to guitar, you might not be super comfortable with bar chords or 7th chords yet. So you could start with more of a simple open shuffle type pattern, which sounds like this. There's lots of variations on that pattern there. You could do swung, straight feel. Let me just play through the 12-bar blues pattern in this open shuffle position here, and then we'll chat through a bit about what's actually happening in terms of the chords after that. 2, 3, 4. So that's what a 12-bar blues pattern sounds like. 3 chords that we've got there. So we've got the first chord that we start on. We're playing a blues in the key of A right now, meaning A is our key, and also going to be the first chord that we're going to be playing. So that shuffle pattern there, if you want a bit more of a broken down view of that, I'm playing the open A string, as that's our chord that we're basing it on. Then on the D string, I'm moving between 2nd and 4th fret. 2, 2, 4, 4, 2, 2, 4, 4 with the A string underneath. There's many variations on when you are going to change from chord to chord, but we'll keep it simple to start with. We're going to do 4 bars of the A chord. So it sounds like this: 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. After 4 bars, that's when we're going to change to the next chord, which is going to be the same pattern, but we've just moved everything up a string, as in to go higher up. So that's going to be off a D chord now. So the second chord that we're going to need for this progression is a D chord. So we're going to do open D string as the bass note, and then on the G string, we're going to do that same pattern from 2 to 4. 2, 2, 4, 4, 2, 2, 4, 4. We're going to sit on that D chord for 2 bars, which sounds like this: 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. At that point, after 2 bars of D, we move back to the A chord for another 2 bars. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to reach the last 4 bars of the blues progression, which we call the turnaround, because it's where everything gets wrapped up and turned back around to the beginning. Lots of variations on this part here in particular. We're going to stick nice and simple to 1 bar of each. We're going to need our third and final chord that we're going to use for now, an E chord, and just like you've probably figured out, we're going to be using the low E string as our low bass note. We're going to have that same pattern: 2, 2, 4, 4, 2, 2, 4, 4, moving on the A string underneath. So we're going to do that for just 1 bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to jump up to the D chord for 1 bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to the A chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to finish on the E again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me play through the whole 12-bar blues progression now. Feel free to play along. I'll call out the chord changes and the bars as we go. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. 4, 2, 3, and D chord for 2 bars. 1, back to A, 2 bars, turn around, here's E, 1, 2, up to D, A, finishing on E, 1, 2, back to the top. And that's it. You can keep going around and around and around. That's one simple way, the shuffle pattern, nice and easy in the open position. You can also try the same thing with some dominant 7 chords, so the same chords A, D, and E. So it'll be A7, D7, and E7, whatever voicings you want to do, following the exact same pattern, any type of strumming pattern you want. That could be cool if you've got more than one guitarist playing rhythm, maybe one person going on the shuffle pattern and another person could be going some chord stabs on a dominant 7 chord, for example. Okay, so once you feel like you've got a handle on the rhythm side of things, understanding the chord progression, and once you get to the point of being able to hear when the next chord change is coming, you're probably ready to start doing some soloing or single note playing. If you've ever seen Back to the Future, I'm sure you've seen that infamous scene of Marty McFly playing Johnny Be Good. That's probably one of my first introductions to blues playing, especially lead playing. And that's maybe what you want to do on the fretboard, all those crazy flying licks, or something maybe a bit more simple and tasteful, B.B. King style or Albert King, any of the Kings. And the beauty about blues is it doesn't have to be lots of flashy notes. It can be really simple. And often with blues, simpler is better. So as a beginner, that works well for us. So to solo, if you've never soloed before, basically what we do, we use a scale or a few different scales, and they're kind of like our ingredients for our improvisation, the notes that we have available to us to use in improvising. So probably the main one that we start with is going to be the minor pentatonic scale. A pentatonic scale is a 5-note scale, 5 different notes. If you haven't played that before, it's real simple. We're going to start on the 5th fret of the low E string for this one, because that right there is an A note, same as your A string, same note, and it's going to follow this following pattern. So it's going to be an A minor pentatonic scale. So all of those notes I just played are the ones in this position on the neck that we are allowed to use. You can break that rule later, obviously, and you can introduce other scales as well if you want, but for now we'll stick simple and just stick to the minor pentatonic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw on a blues backing track and just do some real simple phrasing with that scale. 3 key tips I always say to people that are starting out with improvising is to leave space in between your phrases. When you talk, you naturally put pauses, full stops, commas in there to break up your phrases, and then what you're saying makes a lot more sense because it's easier to digest as a listener. Same thing with your playing. If you're just constantly playing, filling all the gaps, the listener won't be able to process your phrase that you just played. So make sure you put gaps in there, and it makes what you just played have much more worth. Repeat your ideas as well. Any good solo or good melody has got an element of repetition to it. So if you only play a phrase once and then move on to something completely different, you're not really exploring the full potential of that phrase. What you're really doing is making melodies here. You're not playing a scale up and down like an exercise, like maybe you have done before with scales to a metronome or just by yourself. You're not doing that anymore. You're using the same scale, but you're writing music with it now. You're writing melodies. So any melody is going to have an element of repetition to it. Otherwise, it just won't be memorable. So feel free to repeat ideas a few times around with a little bit of variation each time. And then you're really kind of bringing home that point of what the melody is. And then the final thing to remember is to play fragments of the scale. So pretty simple, but feel free to just stay in one area and play a little fragment of the scale up and down. Kind of play a couple, 2, 3, 4 notes of the scale at a time. I would probably avoid for now trying to jump around too much, like, although that might be something you might use at some point to create a bit of a wider sound. For now, you want to stay pretty much in a little zone of the scale rather than trying to jump to the furthest points that you have available to you. Okay, so I'm going to try and put all of that into action now over a backing track. Great exercise to play over backing track, especially if you can find a good one on YouTube. I'm using one from a channel called Quist. This is the BB King style blues backing track in A. So make sure you specify the key that you're playing in. Alternatively, if you have a loop pedal or something, you could loop yourself playing that shuffle pattern that we were practicing earlier, or any sort of blues pattern if you wanted to play over your own chord progression, but either will work fine. Let's give it a go, and I'll try and keep it nice and simple so you can see those tips in action. So some fairly simple phrases there, really trying to bring home that point of repetition. Didn't mention this before, but obviously remember you're playing guitar, so you can add in all your hammer-ons, pull-offs, double stops, slides, bends, all of that cool stuff that makes guitar sound like a guitar. So add that in and you can get really lyrical with it as well. Almost try and make it sound like a vocal melody as you're playing. So give that a go. Start real simple. You can set yourself a goal to go for 2 rounds of the blues, for example, of the chord progression, or longer or shorter. Start real simple, lots of gaps, and then try and build, make it busier and faster and more exciting as you go. Have fun.